Hello, lads. I suppose I must speak of what's been going on with this AI program called Replika, even though in some ways I am ill equipped to discuss it because I'm not a technological person. I don't know the ins and outs of what makes AI AI. I don't know if I can beyond I don't know if I have beyond a layman's understanding of what replica, spelled with a K, was or is, but I just think it's something that needs to be brought up in the context of the subject that I've been considering so heavily lately, and something that I've written about. The last five entries on my Substack page are a letter to today's unwanted men, and I discuss in those articles how this loneliness gap persists with young men today, and how more and more men are finding themselves completely isolated, completely ignored by the opposite sex. You know, even if they've you know even if they have things to offer, even if you would look at them and think, well, he's fine. What's wrong with him? But he's because he's not in the very top tier of men. He's going ignored these days in many cases. And I just was addressing that whole issue in in my articles on Substack, and I've talked about it also quite a bit here on my YouTube channel. So I thought this whole thing with Replika, I should probably comment on as well, even though, again, I'm begging for your indulgence. This is one of those times where I beg for your indulgence because I don't know the ins and outs of not only of Replika or of the history of Replika. I don't know if I can totally explain everything that has happened, but especially recently, it seems just very significant to bring up. So I should start by saying I have a really hard time getting this AI thing. I think it's fascinating, and I've become kind of addicted to AI art. I've started posting, just prompts into this AI app called Wonder. I haven't purchased it, but you can they let you have they let you have it for free as long as every time you type in a prompt, you have to watch a commercial, I've been sticking with that version of it, and it's quite a fascinating thing. But I have a hard time understanding the whole idea of actually falling in love with a fembot, as it were, with an AI program. And I don't want to sound judgmental of anybody, because I know it's hard out there. It's difficult out there, and you take what you can get. And loneliness is real, and loneliness can be very, it can tear at you. So you take what you can get, and if it's true that in many cases, what Replika was doing with these fembots, they weren't fembots in the sense that they actually had a body, although that's a thing too. But these were just, you had a picture of them, and you could communicate with them, and supposedly the deal was that the more you talk to them, the more they learned about you. The more they learned about you. You know, the more data they amassed about you, the more they could relate to you and carry on conversations with you that made them sound, close to human. And the legend is, although I guess this has been under some scrutiny, but supposedly this whole business was started by a woman who had a male friend who died in a car crash and was traumatized over his death, and then used a bunch of his the stuff that the conversation that they had online. She sort of put that into this machine, this online personality program thing, and personality program thing. Again, I'm showing my general ignorance of tech stuff, but supposedly, made this program where she could get the feeling of talking to him again, and that's what this replica was based on. And so a lot of people, and I'm going to say right now that I think it's mostly men. There have probably been some women too who got who fashioned a bot or fashioned one of these AI personalities for themselves, but it's mostly men. I think I'm pretty confident in saying that it's almost totally men who have taken advantage of or been hoodwinked by, depending on how you look at it, this computer program, this app. So you're lonely guy, and how it works is you purchase their special offer. The more you give them, the more features it has, and ERP became a thing, and ERP stands for erotic role play. So these apps were, had this ability to talk to you sexy, and to have sexual conversations, and you and your AI girlfriend could basically have sex of a sort, online, just talking to one another, and sharing various intimate things. That was that was a big selling point of Replika, and it was something that was pushed. It wasn't just from what I've looked into, it wasn't just something that that a bunch of guys got online, and they were just horny guys and they demanded it, and then the company capitulated and said, okay, we'll give you this, you bunch of perverts. Although they tried to spin it that way later, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But rather, it became this feature that became one of the major selling points of the app, and it's easy to understand why, and so it existed in this way for a long time, for months apparently. And I remember seeing ads for it. To me, I just, the entire idea of talking to a computer program and falling in love with it, or seeing it in an erotic sort of way, there's a stumbling block there that I just can't get past. It's the same thing with sex dolls. I don't no matter how realistic they make them, and the most realistic ones that I've seen still don't look like human women. I just can't. I don't get it. I don't get it. I get loneliness, but that's not that's something that I just don't think could ever appeal to me. But it appeals to many, and so a lot of guys were apparently hooked, and that these bots were a comfort to them. It wasn't just somebody that they went to for sexual favors and then left behind. For a lot of them, it was like the girlfriend experience. It was like having somebody who seemed real to them, listen to them, offer words of encouragement, and just function in the way that your ideal, I guess, fantasy girlfriend is supposed to function, including the intimate aspects. But then abruptly, a couple of weeks ago, due to some court case that I don't know all the details of, and I think it'd be easy for me to get really lost in the sauce if I tried to give the details. So I'm not going to even try. I'll just say that there was some kind of court case that was brought before them in the nation of Italy. But after this case was brought to them, that sort of was threatening them or saying, this minors are getting on, and this is, you're exploiting them, and that's highly inappropriate, and so forth. Then the corporation just suddenly did a 180 on ERP, erotic role play. That function just disappeared. It just went away. And so all of these, mostly guys, again, I'm not denying there were women who used it too, but mostly these men who, again, are a part of this demographic, I would say, that I'm talking about, these men who are progressively more and more just left out in the cold, as far as finding a girlfriend, finding a wife, having the sort of fulfilling family life trajectory of meeting a girl, marrying her, having children, the sort of thing that was within the grasp of most men in the fairly recent past, but due to various nefarious trends, mostly attributable to the sexual revolution and the concomitant almost destruction of the very institution of monogamy. Because of this, the more and more men are finding themselves alone. So it would with zero prospects and just basically ignored by the female sex. And I go into the reasons for this in my articles on my Substack page if you want to check them out and see for yourself, see if I'm all wet or if I've got a point. But what is unarguable is that these are the trends. I mean, there have been numerous studies that have shown that this is happening to a greater and greater extent, especially since the advent of social media. So they just, what they did was they just pulled the rug out from under these guys' legs. They pulled the rug out, and suddenly their online girlfriends were not their girlfriends anymore. If they tried to initiate erotic role play, they would get rebuffed. Their AI former girlfriends would just say something like, "I think let's change the subject to something we're both comfortable talking about." And so of course they feel betrayed. These guys, they feel like the company just did them dirty, and it's hard not to sympathize, even if one again has a hard time understanding the how you get to that point again, or how you not how you get to the point of being of extreme loneliness, because that's understandable, but just for someone like me, I don't understand. I would I've said this before, and I know this is putting it somewhat crudely, but I'd just as soon it be just me and my hand than have any kind of woman substitute out there, whether it's some girl on a screen or a sex doll or whatever. That's just it just doesn't appeal to me at all. But they made this twist, and then the founder was even saying things like, "Oh well, it was never really designed to be this way," you know. Essentially, gaslighting. I hate that term, but I'll use it here because it's appropriate. Their base, because they were pushing this. This was stuff they were pushing on their target audience. It was something. It was a big part of. It was a big selling point. Maybe the biggest selling point was that these AI girls could be your girlfriends. You could experience intimacy with them, and now that was gone, and that is gone, totally gone. So it seems unfathomably cruel that this was allowed to ever have happened in the first place. And if you wanted to approach it differently and be more judgmentally and say, well, these guys should never have gotten themselves into this. It was pathetic that they ever let this happen to them in the first place, where they were so reliant on something that isn't even real. Again, I would suggest that maybe you don't quite know how bad it is out there for a lot of guys. Yeah, it just seems like yet another betrayal that today's young unwanted men are having to deal with. At least those among their number who took part in this AI program. So, what do y'all think? Is my assessment of things fairly accurate? Am I off in some way? Please let me know below. I'm interested in hearing from you, and thanks for watching.